Ask more questions. Do more research. Don't always assume what you're typically diagnosing is actually the problem. Just be more observant of the patient, because of course he changed when he would go in for his visits. There were some changes that you could just see. So, look at your patient as a person. He'll tell you he's a king. He has, all these servants. He has all these different things. He has all this money. And, she continued to tell him what he didn't have, which wasn't helping the problem. Whereas the neurologist that we later had was very helpful. She let him believe what he needed to believe and get him to answer the questions she needed him to answer for her. She listened to what he had to say. She read his background to get an idea of what it was like before and where he's at now. So that was very helpful for her.
I go to the doctor for a follow-up visit for some blood work that I had done. I had a 10:30 appointment, and I saw the doctor at 5 minutes after 12. My dementia kicked in. I started seeing colors, but when the doctor gets in to see me at a little bit after 12, I said, boy, that was a long wait. Then you know what he does? He gives me a lecture on how he has to do as a doctor, that when people are sick, he has to take all the time that he needs to take care of them before he can see another patient. I knew that. He didn't have to tell me that. I didn't think he was out cooling his heels somewhere. I knew he was busy, but see, he didn't understand. I knew his side of the story, that he was busy and helping people, but he didn't understand at all. He knows I have dementia. See, I wish he would take into consideration my illness. I know that I have problems, but it seems like a medical doctor, if I say, oh, my stomach hurts, they can deal with that. But if I say my head has gone electric, they don't have a clue. The only person that understands that is my neurologist. I can talk like that to her and she understands. But if I go, I've got a lung problem too. I go to my lung doctor. They ask me how I'm doing. Unless I'm just in bad pain, I say I'm okay. But I'm never really okay. You've got to be in my head to know what it's like to live like I do.
We had a doctor that we visited in the spring, and due to COVID, they didn't want me to come in. And I said, but he needs me to, just in case he gets lost or he can't answer a question that you have. And they were they weren't very happy about it. So they made me go sit down in the lobby. And because it was over an hour, I got worried, so I went back upstairs, and then I demanded that they let me sit in their lobby. I mean, I was masked and they checked my temperature and all, but they did not want to allow it. And I was worried to death that he would be wandering all over the building, not being able to find his way out.
The patient feels isolated when not being directly addressed about the patient's issues. And I think that is very, very important to speak directly with the patient, and occasionally having some words with the person who's there with the patient, the support person, so that everybody's involved, hopefully, in the conversation. Directly address the patient so the patient feels like, oh, you really are talking to me about my problem, rather than looking at the support person. And I think that that's the better approach when dealing with patients who have issues, regardless of what they are.
She understands, she takes her time. It's not a 10-minute doctor appointment. An hour and a half. It takes whatever time I need.
So it's very difficult with the behaviors for people in the medical field to understand that, because FTD is so misunderstood, even in the medical field. They say that primary care physicians see 0 to 2 FTD patients in their entire career. And even a regular neurologist will only see 5 to 10 in their entire career. So that's why it's so important to go somewhere where there is a cognitive neurologist who knows the other related dementias and can do a proper diagnosis, because otherwise I am educating the medical community every time we go to a doctor other than going where they know FTD. He was recently in the hospital with pneumonia, and I had to educate everyone as to what to expect. And I was able to go in with him because I said, he has behavior variant FTD, and this is what can happen if you make me stay outside. When I went into the emergency room, if you make me stay outside, please don't be calling me in 2 minutes. It's up to you then. And so they let me go into the emergency room, and then they admitted him because he had pneumonia. And I stayed with him because you just can't be alone when you have any kind of dementia in the hospital. You cannot be alone. There's just not an understanding of dementia, and particularly frontotemporal dementia, which is different in so many ways. They expect him to not remember what to do. And in a hospital, it takes a long time. A doctor might say, I'm going to get you XYZ. And it may take a couple of hours before XYZ shows up. Well, there's no patience with frontotemporal dementia. And if I hadn't been there to keep the situation calm, we probably would have been kicked out of the hospital.
In looking back, I really have got to say that I was frustrated at some point several times because I knew something was wrong, and nobody could say what it was. I ignored it for a while too, and I thinking that things were going to go away. The doctor did not ever look at me. He talked to Rick during the whole time. It's like, and it just really it really bothered me. And I even did a couple of times, and he didn't get it, and it really, really bothered me.
I think just for them to be understanding and compassionate with that person, because that person is a human being, much as they are, and to give attention to that person. And Sandy didn't say directly that that's what she would like, but that's what she got, and so therefore that she is implying that that's what she would like to tell the professional as well. And I agree. Oftentimes when she and I would go into one of the visits with a neurologist or something, the neurologist acted like I wasn't even there, that I wasn't even there. So that, I think, is in contrast to a lot of folks' experience.